My parents gave my brother $500,000. And 1 week later, the bank called me. And what they told me changed everything. I didn't know it yet. But that phone call was the beginning of the end. The end of pretending. The end of being the quiet daughter who never asked for anything. The end of a family built on a lie I had believed my whole life. My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I work as a project manager for a mid-sized logistics company. Nothing glamorous. Just spreadsheets, deadlines, and a lot of coffee. I want to tell you my story. Not because I want pity. I need someone to hear it. Maybe you'll understand. Maybe you've lived something like this too. Let me start from the beginning. I grew up in a small house outside Dayton. My dad, Gary, worked at a manufacturing plant for almost 30 years. My mom, Linda, stayed home when we were kids, then worked part-time at a pharmacy once my brother and I were older. My brother's name is Kevin. He's 2 years younger than me. Growing up, everyone said Kevin was the golden boy. He was charming. Funny. The kind of kid teachers loved and parents bragged about. I was the responsible one. The quiet one. The one who got good grades and never caused trouble. I always told myself that was fine. I didn't need attention. I didn't need to be the favorite. I just wanted to build a good life. And I did. Or at least, I thought I was building one. I went to Ohio State. Paid for most of it myself with loans and a part-time job at a call center. Kevin dropped out of community college after 1 semester. My parents didn't push him. They said, he'll find his way eventually. I found my way faster. I got a job right out of college. I worked hard. I saved money. By the time I was 30, I had a small townhouse, a decent car, and almost $20,000 in savings. Not rich. But stable. Safe. Kevin, meanwhile, moved back in with our parents at 26. Then he moved out. Then back in again. He tried a food truck business that failed. He tried selling insurance. That failed too. Every time something fell apart, my parents were there to catch him. I never complained. Not really. Every family has one kid who struggles more. I told myself that was just Kevin's path. Different from mine. Not worse. Not better. Just different. But there was a small voice inside me. A quiet one. It would whisper sometimes, late at night. Why does he always get help? Why do you have to do everything alone? I ignored that voice for years. Our family get-togethers were always warm, on the surface. Sunday dinners at my parents' house. Thanksgiving with too much food. Birthdays with cake and candles. From the outside, we looked like a normal, loving family. And in a lot of ways, we were. My mom would call me every Sunday just to check in. My dad would send me articles about car maintenance because he worried about me driving alone at night. I loved them. I still do. That's what makes this so hard to talk about. 2 years ago, my dad retired from the plant. He got a pension and a payout. Around the same time, my grandmother, my mom's mother, passed away. She left behind a small estate. A house in Cleveland that had been in the family for decades, some savings, some old investments. My parents inherited most of it. And combined with Dad's retirement payout, it added up to a lot. More than I ever imagined my parents had access to. I didn't ask about the money. It wasn't mine. It was theirs. I figured they'd use it for retirement, for medical bills someday, for whatever they needed. I never once thought about what it might mean for me. I never once expected anything. That's important for you to understand. I wasn't waiting for a handout. I wasn't counting pennies, wondering what I'd inherit. I had built my own life. I was proud of that. But I also never imagined what was coming. It was a Tuesday evening in March when I found out. I was at my parents' house for dinner, like always. My mom made pot roast. Kevin was there too, which was a little unusual on a weeknight. Halfway through dinner, My dad cleared his throat. He had that look. The look he used to get before announcing something big, like the time he told us we were getting a new car when I was 12. "We wanted to tell you both something," he said. "We've decided to help Kevin get a real start. A fresh start." My mom smiled and reached over to squeeze Kevin's hand. "We're giving him $500,000, my dad said, to start his new business. The real estate thing he's been talking about." I remember my fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I just froze. $500,000. I set my fork down slowly. My hands were steady, but my heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "That's wow," I said. Because what else do you say? "That's really generous." Kevin was grinning from ear to ear. "I promise I won't let you down this time," he said to my parents. Not to me. To them. I sat there and I smiled, because that's what I do. I smile. I nod. I say the right things. But inside I was screaming. Not because I wanted the money. I want to be clear about that. It wasn't about the money itself. It was the message underneath it. Kevin had failed at 3 businesses. 3. And he was getting $500,000 for a 4th attempt. I had never failed at anything they gave me, because they never gave me anything to fail with. I built everything myself, brick by brick, with no safety net. And in that moment, I understood something I had never let myself fully understand before. They didn't trust me less. They trusted me completely. So completely, they never worried about me. And they didn't trust Kevin at all. So they kept rescuing him. Being responsible had made me invisible. "Rachel, honey, are you okay?" my mom asked. She must have seen something on my face. "I'm fine," I said. "Really? I'm happy for Kevin." And in that moment, I almost believed myself. I drove home that night in silence. No radio. No podcast. Just me and my thoughts, going in circles. I told myself I was being petty. I told myself real love isn't about equal treatment. I told myself Kevin needed it more than I did. But somewhere on Route 4, driving past the gas station where I used to stop for coffee before early morning shifts back when I was 22 and broke and scared. Somewhere on that road, I started crying. Not loud sobbing. Just quiet tears sliding down my face while I kept driving. I didn't tell anyone how I felt. Not my best friend Jess. Not my parents. I just swallowed it. Like I always did. I went back to my normal life. Work. Gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sunday dinners with my parents, where Kevin now talked endlessly about his new real estate venture, buying distressed properties, flipping them, building a portfolio. I nodded along. I asked polite questions. I even offered him a few tips from my project management background about setting timelines and tracking expenses. He barely listened. A week after that dinner, on a Wednesday afternoon, I was at my desk at work, deep in a spreadsheet, when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, so I almost let it go to voicemail. Something made me pick it up. "Hi, is this Rachel Whitfield?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, speaking. This is Diane, from First Heritage Bank. I'm calling about the joint account you hold with your parents, Gary and Linda Whitfield." I remember blinking at my computer screen, confused. "I'm sorry. What joint account?" There was a pause on the line. "The savings account ending in 4471. You're listed as a joint holder. We noticed some unusual activity and wanted to verify some transactions with you directly." My stomach dropped. I didn't know about any joint account. "I think there's been a mistake," I said slowly. "I don't have a joint account with my parents. According to our records, this account was opened 11 years ago, and your name has been on it since then. Would you like me to go over the recent transactions?" 11 years ago. My mind raced backward. 11 years ago, I had just graduated college. I remembered signing some papers at my parents' request, something about helping with paperwork for a family account. I was 23. I trusted them completely. I signed whatever they put in front of me without reading every line, because they were my parents. Why would I question them? Yes, I said quietly. Please, go ahead. What she told me next made my hands start shaking. The account had, until recently, held almost $400,000. Money I never knew existed. Money that had apparently come from a life insurance policy years ago, plus other family funds over time. And a week earlier, nearly all of it had been withdrawn and transferred out. To Kevin. I sat completely still at my desk. I could hear my coworkers talking in the break room down the hall. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning. But it all sounded far away, like I was underwater. I'm sorry, I said. Can you repeat that? Transferred to who? The transfer went to an account under the name Kevin Whitfield, Diane said. Since your name is also on this account, we're required to notify you of large transactions like this and to confirm you authorized it. I didn't, I said. My voice came out shakier than I expected. I didn't authorize anything. I didn't even know this account existed. There was a pause. I understand this may be a shock. Given the discrepancy, we may need you to come into a branch to verify your identity and discuss the account status. I told her I would. I hung up the phone and just sat there, staring at my screen, at a spreadsheet full of numbers that suddenly meant nothing to me. $400,000. My name had been on that account for 11 years. And I never knew. I thought about the dinner. The $500,000 they announced they were giving Kevin. I had assumed it came from Grandma's inheritance and Dad's pension. But now I understood. Some of it, maybe most of it, had come from an account with my name on it. An account I never touched, never spent from, never even knew existed. My name had been sitting there for 11 years, attached to money that I apparently had a legal claim to. And they used it to fund my brother's fourth failed business idea, without saying a single word to me. I left work early that day. I told my manager I wasn't feeling well, which wasn't exactly a lie. I drove straight to the bank. Diane was kind, professional, careful with her words. She showed me the original documents. There was my signature, 23 years old, naive, trusting. I had co-signed the account as a joint owner, which legally meant it was as much mine as it was my parents'. Do you understand what that means? Diane asked gently. Legally, this money was half yours. You had every right to access it, and no one could withdraw large sums without informing you, since your name was attached. Then how did the transfer go through? I asked. She explained that my dad, as the primary account holder with online banking access, had initiated it. Because I never used the account, never checked it, I never noticed the alerts, which had apparently been going to an old email address I hadn't used in years. I sat in that small bank office, and I felt something inside me crack open. Not anger, exactly. Not yet. It was something quieter. Something like grief. I had spent my whole life believing my parents saw me as capable, independent, someone who didn't need help. Now I understood the truth. They saw me as someone who wouldn't ask questions. Someone who wouldn't notice. Someone safe to take from, because I would never make a scene. I drove to my parents' house that evening without calling first. I don't usually do that. But I couldn't wait. My mom answered the door, surprised to see me. Rachel? Is everything okay? I need to talk to you and Dad, I said. My voice was flat. Calm. Too calm. We sat in the living room, the same living room where I did my homework as a kid, where we opened Christmas presents every year, where I once believed nothing could ever really break in our family. I got a call from First Heritage Bank today, I said. About an account with my name on it. An account I never knew existed. My dad's face changed. Just slightly. But I saw it. Rachel, let me explain, he started. Please do, I said. He explained that the account had been set up years ago from a life insurance payout after my grandfather passed, and some other family savings over the years. He said they always intended it as family money, and that my name was added mostly for tax reasons and in case something happened to them. So it was never really mine, I said quietly. Even though my name was on it. It wasn't like that, my mom said, her voice trembling. We needed to help Kevin. He's struggling so much, Rachel. You've always been fine on your own. You've never needed us the way he does. And there it was. The sentence that confirmed everything I had suspected but never said out loud. You've never needed us the way he does. As if my independence was a reason to be ignored. As if my strength meant my feelings didn't matter. As if surviving on my own, working hard, never asking for help, made me less deserving of honesty, of respect. You used my name for 11 years, I said. You let me co-sign something I didn't understand at 23. And then you took almost $400,000 out of an account with my name on it and gave it to Kevin without telling me. Without asking me. We were going to tell you eventually, my dad said. When? I asked. After it was all gone? Nobody answered that. I looked at Kevin's empty chair, because of course, he wasn't even there for this conversation. He was probably out somewhere, celebrating his new business, completely unaware, or maybe fully aware, that $500,000 of family money included funds legally tied to my name. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady, but my voice stayed calm. I need some time, I said. I need space from this family for a while. Rachel, don't be dramatic, my mom said. We're still your parents. I know, I said. That's what makes this so hard. I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just walked out, got in my car, and drove home in silence, the same way I had after that dinner a week earlier. Except this time, I wasn't just sad. I was done being invisible. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I stopped answering my mom's Sunday calls. I skipped Easter at my parents' house for the first time in my adult life. I told Jess everything, finally, and she just sat with me while I cried on her couch, not trying to fix it, just being there. You have every right to feel this way, she told me. You've spent your whole life being the strong one. It's okay to fall apart a little. I lost weight without trying. I had trouble sleeping. I would lie awake replaying every Sunday dinner, every holiday, wondering how many other things I never knew about. Wondering if my whole childhood had quietly been building toward this moment, where the responsible daughter got left out of the truth, again and again, because she was too steady to cause problems. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects. My manager actually complimented me on how organized and calm I stayed during a chaotic quarter, and I almost laughed, because inside, I felt anything but calm. My mom texted almost every day. Short messages. We miss you. Can we talk? Please don't shut us out. I didn't respond for a long time. Not out of cruelty. I just didn't have the words yet. I needed to understand my own feelings before I could explain them to anyone else. I met with a financial advisor, someone Jess recommended. Not because I wanted to fight my family in court. I didn't want that. I just needed to understand my rights, understand what actually happened, and protect myself going forward. The advisor confirmed what Diane at the bank had told me. Legally, as a joint account holder, I had real claims to that money. I could pursue it if I wanted to. I could involve lawyers. I could make my parents' life very difficult. I sat with that information for days. Part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted them to feel even a fraction of what I felt. Some quiet, hurt part of me wanted justice in the form of numbers, wanted every dollar accounted for and returned. But another part of me, a deeper part, knew that wasn't really what I needed. I didn't want to destroy my family. I wanted to be seen by them. I wanted the truth. I wanted, for the first time in my life, for someone to say, we were wrong. We're sorry. You matter too. 3 weeks into my silence, I finally called my mom back. I'm not ready to come to dinner, I told her. But I'll talk on the phone. She cried. She apologized, in her way, though it still came wrapped in excuses about Kevin's struggles, about wanting to keep the family together, about not wanting to burden me with worry over the years. I listened. I didn't argue. I just let her talk. Then I told her what I needed. I needed honesty. I needed them to acknowledge, clearly, without excuses, that what they did was wrong. Not because Kevin didn't deserve help, but because they had a daughter too, and they had treated her like an afterthought for years, and used her name without her knowledge to do it. "I know," she finally said, her voice breaking. "I know, Rachel. I'm so sorry. It wasn't everything, but it was something." Around that same time, things started to unravel for Kevin's new business. I want to be honest with you. I didn't secretly hope for his failure out of spite. I genuinely wanted, somewhere deep down, for this to be different. For him to finally succeed, so that all of this pain might feel like it was worth something. But that's not what happened. 6 weeks after receiving the $500,000, Kevin had already spent nearly a third of it. Not on properties. Not on investments. On a new truck. A fancy office lease he didn't need yet. Marketing that led nowhere. The same patterns as his last 3 failed businesses, just with more zeros attached. My parents found out because Kevin came to them, panicked, asking for more guidance. And in trying to help him sort out his finances, they discovered just how careless he had been with the money. Money that, again, had partly come from an account with my name on it, money I had a legal claim to. That's when everything finally came out into the open. My parents sat Kevin down and told him the truth about where a large portion of that money had come from. They told him about the joint account. About my name being on it for 11 years. About the fact that legally, I could have taken action against all of them. Kevin called me that night. It was the first time we had spoken since everything happened. "Rachel," he said, his voice smaller than I had ever heard it. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know some of that money was tied to you." "I believe you," I said. And I did. Kevin's flaws were many, but I never believed he sat in a room and plotted against me. He was careless. Self-focused. But not cruel in that calculated way. "I'm sorry," he said. "I really am. I've messed up again, haven't I?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "You have. But so did they, Kevin. This isn't just on you." We talked for almost an hour that night. Really talked, for the first time in years. He told me how much pressure he felt, always being compared to me, always failing while I succeeded, always needing rescue while I never seemed to. He said it made him feel small, and somewhere along the way, he stopped trying to build anything real, because he knew someone would always catch him if he fell. "That's not an excuse," he said. "But it's the truth." I understood something in that conversation. Kevin and I had both been shaped by the same unfair system, just in opposite directions. I was taught that my worth came from never needing help. He was taught that he'd always be rescued, no matter what he did. Neither one of those lessons was healthy. Neither one of us really got to be seen as we truly were. 2 months after that phone call, my parents sat down with me and Kevin together at their kitchen table, and we had the conversation that should have happened years earlier. My dad admitted, in front of both of us, that they had leaned on me because I was easy. Because I never complained. Because loving me quietly, from a distance, felt safe, while loving Kevin required constant intervention and worry. "We took you for granted," my dad said, his voice rough with emotion I had never seen from him before. "We're sorry, Rachel. You deserved so much more from us." They couldn't undo what happened. The money that had been spent was gone. But they did something that mattered more to me than any repayment could have. They put my name, properly and transparently this time, on a new account, along with a formal written agreement acknowledging what had happened and outlining a plan to return a portion of what was legally mine over the next several years, directly. With full documentation, nothing hidden. It wasn't about getting rich. It was maybe $60,000 over time, a fraction of what had been taken. But it was honest. It was mine, clearly and legally, with paperwork that made sure nothing like this could ever happen quietly again. More importantly, they finally saw me. Not as the responsible one who didn't need attention. Not as the daughter who would always be fine no matter what. But as a person who had feelings, who had limits, who deserved honesty just as much as anyone else in that family. It's been almost a year now since that first phone call from Diane at the bank. My life looks different now. Quieter, in a good way. I still go to Sunday dinners sometimes, but not every week, and that's okay. I set that boundary, and my parents, to their credit, respected it. Kevin is doing better. Not perfect, but better. He got a steady job managing operations for someone else's real estate company, learning the business properly this time, without $500,000 cushioning every mistake. We talk more now than we ever did growing up. Real conversations. Not just surface-level family small talk. My parents and I are rebuilding something. Slower. More honest. I don't think our relationship will ever be exactly what it was before, and I've made peace with that. Some things, once broken, don't go back to their original shape. But sometimes what grows in the broken places is stronger, more real, than what was there before. I used the money they returned to me to pay off the rest of my townhouse mortgage early. There's something powerful about that. Something that feels like closure. Like I built a safe place for myself, brick by brick, with my own hands, and now it's fully, completely mine. I think about that phone call from the bank often. At the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. My hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe. I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. But looking back now, I understand it differently. That phone call didn't destroy my family. It forced the truth into the light, a truth that had been sitting quietly beneath the surface for years, shaping everything, hurting me in ways I hadn't even let myself fully feel. If I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be this. Being the strong one doesn't mean you don't need anything. It doesn't mean your feelings matter less. It doesn't mean you should stay quiet just because you're capable of surviving without help. I spent so many years being proud of never needing anyone. I'm learning now that needing honesty, needing to be truly seen, isn't weakness. It's just being human. I still believe in family. I still love my parents, and I still love my brother, even after everything. But I've learned that love without honesty isn't really love. It's just comfortable silence, and comfortable silence can hide a lot of pain. These days, my life feels calm. Peaceful, in a way it hasn't in a long time. I wake up, I go to work, I come home to a house that's fully mine. I talk to my family on my own terms now, not out of obligation, but out of genuine choice. And that difference, choosing love instead of just accepting silence, has changed everything. If you're listening to this, and you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the responsible one who never got asked how you were really doing, I want you to know your feelings matter too. Being strong doesn't mean you have to stay silent. Setting boundaries with people you love isn't betrayal. It's self-respect. So let me ask you this. If you found out your name had been quietly used for years, without your knowledge, to fund someone else's second chances, what would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed silent, the way I almost did? Or would you have spoken up sooner? I'd really love to know. Tell me in the comments below. And if this story meant something to you, if any part of it felt familiar, please consider subscribing. There are more stories like mine here, stories about family, about boundaries, about finding your voice after years of staying quiet. Thank you for listening to my story. Take care of yourself. And remember, your voice matters, even when it shakes.